What's going on, guys? Welcome to Winning in Life. I am Nashawn.
It's your boy Caleb.
Man, this is another special episode. We have a special guest all the way from Newport Richie.
Sorry. Like she literally flew in here, guys. It
was quite the commute, man.
We fly out our guests.
Yeah, we do.
That's a little bit of cap.
Yeah, I think she drove here.
It was all of 30 minutes, Tough times for me.
But go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Angie Soul, lifestyle blogger. Very much known for all of the vulnerable and transparent posts that I share. A lot of things that people are afraid to speak on. And I sit there and I do it and I stare you in your face and wait for a reaction.
Wow, stares you at the face.
That's pretty much I'm very in your face with my post, and people are just like, oh my God, you're so brave. And I'm like, little do they know it's like helping me heal whatever I gotta heal inside of myself. So
like what like transparent post do you have?
Pick a topic. So when I first started my blog, it was after I experienced a miscarriage. And it was originally supposed to serve as like an open journal for like my healing process. Like I would just write certain feelings down. I would just put it out there, and then whoever read it, and that was that. What I didn't realize was that people were going to actually read it. So you
put it publicly, but
I put it publicly, but I didn't think it was going to grow. I didn't think any of it was going to grow. I didn't think that people were going to be impacted by it. I didn't think that people were going to feel connected with me through my post. And then it just essentially took off from there. So I have different posts just talking about my childhood. I went through a lot of like childhood trauma. So just talking about trauma bonds, also trying to overcome trauma and any issues that come with that, such as abandonment issues. I have a lot of topics about just my own spirituality. It's very interesting because I started very much into like crystals and sage and this and that. And now I'm very much like a Christian, and I'm like not into
crystal.
It's crazy. Wait, like just the evolution.
I said reformed crystal.
Oh yeah, it's very much crazy just the evolution of my blog. Also, when I first started the blog, like I said, it was after a miscarriage, so I was engaged. I didn't have a child. Now I'm married and I have a child, so you can find topics about motherhood, marriage. I'm also an HR manager, so I give a lot of topics about career and evolving in your career, or just anything related to employment law, because like that's like my jam, as an HR manager. So it's a variety of topics that you can find.
Holy crap. Yeah, you just gave us like a whole bunch. I'm ready to dive in, man. So the first thing you said, trauma bond. Mm-hmm. What is that exactly?
A trauma bond is when you bond with specific people who may have experienced the same type of traumas, and they're not necessarily healthy relationships. Like you guys are bonding just through the trauma in itself and nothing else. So think about how toxic that can be when you're bonding with someone who needs some severe healing within themselves, and you're trying to heal, and you both don't know how to heal, but you guys are just connecting through the shared trauma.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. It's like, 90% of the population at this point. So yeah, I talk a lot about that because like when I first started my blog, obviously I had certain people in my circle. And when you start something that's completely out of the ordinary or is new and people don't quite understand the journey, that tends to create like a separation between you and your other people. So over the years, they've kind of just been dropping off little by little as I've just been on this overall journey of like elevating, essentially. Yes. So
when you get to new levels in life, there's certain people that are not going to be there if you're on the journey.
Yeah. Well, you can't take everyone with you.
You're not an elevator.
Yeah. You can't take everyone with you. The people who get it. Like either you're going to grow with me or you get left behind.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's you know, something like with me, I'm kind of like, oh, if you not like mess up, but I'm like, if it gets to a certain point where our values don't align, or like you, I wouldn't say disrespect one of my values, but I guess that's essentially what it is. Then I'm like, all right, you're out.
I mean, but that's the thing with boundaries, you know, like just the whole setting of boundaries. People don't like when you set boundaries. That was something else that I discovered, because when I first started my blog, I didn't have a lot of boundaries when it came to like my peace of mind, when it came to like just self-preservation. You know what I mean? I didn't have great boundaries, and maybe that's why people stayed attached to me, because I didn't enforce those boundaries. So when I started enforcing those boundaries, it was like, wait a minute, why are you acting this way towards me? And it's like, if you don't like something, if something doesn't contribute to your growth, if something doesn't contribute to your peace, then why are you going to allow it? And the people who don't respect that don't deserve to be in your circle anyways. So that was a very harsh lesson that I had to learn as well when it came to boundaries.
I feel like that sometimes it's different when the boundaries were already there, like set in place. Because usually people know from the jump, oh, this person like this. But, you know, the transition, like seeing you change in a person that's more, you know, responsible, respectable, people kind of don't like that, because
I guess they know the old you.
Yeah. And they're not, like you said, they're not used to you having those boundaries. So like, what? Like, she's changing and I'm kind of still the same. She is able to put up these boundaries and actually, you know, stand up for herself, but they can't do that too. So that could also make them feel insecure. So
yeah, for sure. Insecure, and just also like, do I benefit from this person anymore? Because I think it also depends on how people view that energy exchange and how they can benefit from you. And there's a lot of people who, like, once they can no longer benefit from you in a certain way, that they no longer want to be attached to you. You know what I mean? So one of the examples for myself is like, I used to just be like an emotional punching bag. Like, anybody who had a problem, who had a situation that they wanted to talk to, it was like, yeah, come to me. I'm here. I'm here to listen to all of your issues. I'm here to give you advice. You know what I mean? But then they never reach out to check up on you. So,
that's a fact.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of that stopped once I started having like better boundaries for myself. But again, if they're reaching out to you and they're trying to get something from you, i.e. emotional punching bag, where I'm just sitting there and absorbing all of your feelings, if I'm no longer doing that anymore, then maybe you just don't have any use for me. So
That's
then it was
tough.
like, yeah, which goes back to the trauma bond. So then that means that there was really no foundation of a real relationship or friendship. It was just the trauma bond at that point.
So you both just kind of had that, you know, trauma, that pain that was similar, and that's what
Connected us, essentially. You know what I mean?
So now I'm thinking like, yo, do I have something like that?
You
in
know,
my
it's
life,
like,
man.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying like, I hope I don't have no trauma bonds. Like, does it have to be? It's not a specific event like you two went through. It's just something that both of you
Didn't heal from.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same specific event that you've gone through. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like, it's like two people get in a relationship and they haven't healed from the past.
Right.
So, but they're bonding.
And they're kind of bonding through that.
Yeah,
like,
they both haven't healed.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's not for you to think about, oh my God, which person in my life, like, who do I have to cut off now? I'm not saying that. Like, it will become blatantly honest. It will become blatantly obvious if you feel like you're not getting anything from that relationship as well. Because at the end of the day, any relationship that you have, whether it's friendship, romantic, like, you both have to benefit from it in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? When two people, for example, get married, you know, it's because he supports me emotionally. He stabilizes me financially. He values my boundaries. He appreciates my value. He puts my value on a certain pedestal. You know what I mean? In the same way, like, for him, she supports me emotionally. That's a big thing with men. You know what I mean? Especially.
Whoa, what you mean? You know, come on, man. We don't need emotions.
That's exactly so, you know, men, it's okay to have emotions. And it doesn't necessarily have to be broadcasted, but I'm assuming that if you have a partner, a romantic partner, you want them to be there to be able to support you emotionally. Yeah. Is that a fact? Okay.
He's like,
it would be a fact, you know, because like, if you're over here going through all of this stuff, it's bad enough that a lot of men, I'm not the type to group all men are the same. No, I will say a lot of men have a difficult time expressing their emotions when they're going through certain difficult times in their life. So naturally, you need to have a partner who is going to be able to recognize when you're going through those difficult times and who's able to support you and uplift you. Because if she's not able to do that, then why are you with her? Because of her looks?
Well, that is the first thing to get me in the door.
Well, yeah, but that's not going to keep you.
No, of course not. Of course
it's
not.
Definitely, it's not going to keep you from leaving out the door.
Of course not. Of course.
So, you know, that's just an example of like, there has to be an even exchange of like benefits.
You said even exchange. I could ask you, is being in a relationship, is there truly an even exchange? Because there's always someone putting in more. Is that truly a thing? Is that truly like exactly even? Because there's always someone that tends to like a person more.
That's a great question. So this is what I will say, especially in marriage. Two people are not always going to give an even exchange. There's going to be an intent to give an even exchange, but depending on the seasons of their life, one person will give 70% and the other person will give 30%. You know what I mean? But again, you have to make sure that the foundation is stable. That foundation started off the intent of the even exchange, you know? As life progresses, you can't help what comes up. You can't help the season that you're in. Sometimes, you know, as humans, we're just not able to give 100% our all. You know what I mean? When you make a commitment to a person, it's accepting that that person is not going to be able to give you their all every time. And you have to be okay with that. That's when you show up. Just like vice versa. If you're not able to show up during a certain season in your life, your partner has to be able to show up and kind of complete that as well.
But that can't be like the new norm. That can't be like, it can only be for certain periods of time. It can't be for the rest of the relationship.
And it's not going to be for the rest of the relationship. But realistically, I think how old are you guys? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, 26.
He's 26, you?
I don't say my age publicly.
Wow.
He's 47.
No, I'm 26.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I'm kidding.
We look young?
Yeah, you look young.
That's crazy, man.
Y'all look young.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm saying this as a over 30-year-old, okay?
So I have to say, okay, go ahead.
I'm 33 for the record. Okay. I'm 33. Yes, in a marriage, I think like people don't really know what it is until you get into a marriage and you take these vows, you know what I mean? It's so easy to be like, this person isn't giving me what I need. I'm gonna leave. You know what I mean? It's so easy to be like that. Right. But in a marriage, the game is different. There is no just like up and leaving, especially when you have a child. You know what I mean? Now, granted, there are certain circumstances that call for automatic quits. You know what I mean? Like infidelity and so forth, you know. But like, for example, if someone's like mother passed away in the relationship, realistically, just think about what that does emotionally to a person.
Right.
Are they going to be able to show up for you in that relationship?
Probably not.
Probably not for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? We don't know how long that time is, but the chances are they're not going to be mentally okay to show up for you in the way that you need them to show up for them. Not to say that's gonna last for the whole relationship, you know what I mean? But I'm saying that it's a constant like variable as you go through different seasons. Just like they overcome that, they're in a good space, and then boom, something happens to you. So now you're not in the mental space to show up 100% of the time. So that's what I mean about that, when you're like trying to fill in the gaps of when someone is not able to show up for you in a relationship.
Okay, but we definitely know that it's temporary. It's a temporary thing.
Oh yeah, if throughout the relationship, if they're not like being attentive, or like if that's the norm, you know what I mean, in a relationship, then clearly that's probably not the relationship for you. If that's like a norm and it's not a temporary season.
Okay. I want to go back to what you were saying about the men not being, emotionally I guess available, is that the word? Or
yeah, we could use that word.
Because something I believe is it's like, I feel like you can tell your wife, and you should like tell her, hey, what's going on, but at the same time, like, do you think there could be a level where it's too much, where you could share too much insecurity with somebody that they're, I wouldn't say respect, but definitely like the admiration would go down?
Hold on. I gotta add on to that. I want to make you deeper. So, what he's saying, so like, you're a Christian woman right now, right? Mm-hmm. You believe in traditional values?
For the most part, yeah.
So, you believe, husband's the rock, head household and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So, when he's saying that, is there too much, that could be
vulnerability,
too much, like, for example, let's say he just lost his job, and he just starts crying to you. Is that too much? But instead of him just say, hey, honey, I lost my job, but I'm gonna get back. Instead of him just like completely crying, sobbing, he's depressed for days. Instead of actually working, that's. I'm sorry, my brother. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
The crying might be a bit too much. The crying might be a bit too much, because if I'm not crying over a lost job, like it might be a bit too much. But if you're like, for example, let's say you lose the job, you bring it to my attention, that sucks, all right, do what you got to do. Let's say that time's passing by and you're frustrated and it's not like working out for you. A lot of times, like just after the initial telling, then you guys just kind of shut down from that topic. Like you don't bring it back up. Like I feel like it's okay, like after an extended amount of time, if you're still feeling frustrated and you're still trying to like make this work and you have feelings attached to that, you should come to me and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like I'm kind of worried about this. Like I need some emotional support. I don't know whatever keywords work for you guys, because like a woman's language and a man's language just be completely two different things. You know what I mean? So whatever that sounds like for you, but just to be able to feel comfortable enough and say like, look, I'm still kind of struggling with this. Like I'm gonna still figure it out, but it has been weighing heavy on me. I'm really not sure what to do. Like if you see me a little distant, because that's another thing. You guys tend to get distant when you're going through stuff, you know what I mean? Because you're trying to keep so much bottled in.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't mean you have to like sit there and make it a whole topic of conversation every time, because I'm sure y'all don't want to talk about it, you know what I mean? But if there's like some kind of distance and be like, yo,
right,
if your woman's like, what's wrong, like feel free to actually tell her what's wrong.
Like, well, I'm just
nothing, I'm good.
So I would have to say that it's not good to have those bottled emotions up, because that's really destructive for your life. But there's not a lot of strong friendships, because like there's certain things, like especially men, like you need strong men around you too.
For sure.
And women, they need good women around them too. You know what I mean? Because like there's certain things that a guy, I feel like he could be going through, but only like some other guy to understand, because we're different, obviously.
Yeah.
Men and women are different. And there's certain things that we go through that like I gotta tell my boy. Like that's where I feel like a lot of guys that like bottle up emotions, they don't have a strong brotherhood around them.
Yeah.
Same vice versa, women, they don't have a good sisterhood around them
Right.
too. You know what I mean? But you know, like you were saying, you know, this don't like push her away. Leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Right. Like I'm good.
And definitely no bawling for for the loss of the job.
Yeah, I don't know how I would react to like someone crying hysterically over a lost job. Like, I'd be like, okay.
Wow. And then that loss of you could say respect, admiration, whatever.
I don't know if it's a loss of respect
Well,
from my perspective, but then again, I can't speak for all women. You know what I mean? From my perspective, I don't think it's a loss of respect, but I mean, I'm gonna be like, ooh, you're very emotional about this.
I want to say attraction, loss of attraction.
What's politically correct is not said online. So like, all right, I got a word. What I'm gonna say carefully.
We're not trying to get canceled yet.
No, you're canceled yet. So I'm already worried. I gotta say carefully. So like, you know how you're saying loss of attraction, Sean? Yeah. So like, a lot of people would say, you're like in your position, you're like, no, I want to lose attraction, but you've never been in that predicament until it happens. You know what I mean? Because like one thing, action says all things. Nobody says, because like someone could be like, tell me everything. If y'all know me crying in front of me, I'm like, okay, let me try it, and then
Yeah. I think
so. Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, I think just the main thing in itself is that men just like how you said, the brotherhoods, like people, they just don't have anybody. They think they can't go to the woman, but then they don't have male friends too.
Right.
And then of course it's a problem, and then you got like all this stress and stuff. But it's definitely good to have balance. You're able to tell somebody.
Definitely.
Because your woman is your woman. She's not your mother. That's the
Exactly.
thing too. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys make their woman their mother.
Or a lot of women act like their mother. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because this is something that I have like struggled with, like just understanding that just because your man doesn't always come to you doesn't mean that he wants to exclude you. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned the whole brotherhood thing, and like me and my husband have been together for almost 8 years, but we've been married for 2. Okay. So when you're married, like I said, it's a whole different ball game. You learn more about yourself in the relationship in a marriage. So something that I have learned, especially in my marriage, is just the importance of a man being able to go to his boys about certain things and not necessarily always coming to his woman. Like just because he doesn't come to you about every single thing doesn't mean that he wants to exclude you. There's just certain things that he feels more comfortable talking about it with his friends. You know what I mean? Like that brotherhood. There's certain experiences that they share together that they will understand better than a woman would, because we're not experiencing those same experiences. You know what I mean? So that's something I definitely had to learn, because I used to get butthurt about him never coming to me about certain things, or like whenever something would happen, he would go straight to his friends, and I'm like, I'm here. Like, why aren't you telling me? You know what I mean? Yeah. But sometimes like you just need that panel of brotherhood to kind of discuss it, get whatever unfiltered feelings out, because again, the languages are different between a man and a woman.
If men were more direct.
Yeah. So that unfiltered language may not translate very well to a woman. Yeah. So sometimes you need to just be able to discuss it with your friends and then come to your woman once you've gotten that unfiltered feelings out and you've gotten some feedback on how to approach her with this.
Okay. So if I did lose my job, and let's say, I'm like, I can't cry in front of my girl. I let it out, we go through a plan, and then I go to my woman like, hey, I just lost my job, but I have a plan. We go figure it out.
You still want to be the rock.
Yeah.
Especially if she looks up to you as a leader. If you believe in traditional values.
For sure.
Then, we both can't be, in a bad state.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there has to be a leader or something in like the relationship. so with marriage, you said you've been married for 2 years, right? All right. So before the marriage, what were the great qualities that you looked before you got with him? You're like, oh, this is the guy I'm gonna be with. Like, what were those qualities, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. The number one quality was trust. So before I met my husband, I was in a relationship for 7 years and it had no trust on both ends.
Dang.
There was no trust at all. So any little thing I would wear, if it felt inappropriate, that was an argument. If I was talking to another guy and it wasn't even on a romantic level, that was an issue. If there was like certain comments on social media, that was an issue. So honestly, the relationship felt like a whole battlefield. There was no love in it after a while because we're just like fighting with one another constantly. So with this person, with my husband, it was definitely like a trust thing. He's very confident within himself and very comfortable within himself, and it translates on how he treats me. Like the whole another man finding me attractive really doesn't bother him, because if anything, he's like, yeah, that's mine. He's like, I know. He'll tell you all the time. He's like, I got great taste in everything. So like trust was the number one thing. The second quality was just like, we're truly friends at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, beyond just the marriage and beyond the fact that we have a child together, we're definitely friends. Our foundation started as friends. So when we come to each other, we have that friendship bond that we develop throughout our relationship. So we're able to laugh with one another. We're able to give sound advice to one another. You know what I mean? It's something that I also did not have in my previous relationship, because it was just based on an attraction level.
Right.
When you're young, it's all about who looks good, you know what I mean? And then you're in that relationship, and then you find out you really don't have nothing in common besides the fact that y'all were physically attracted to one another.
Right.
So we do have that friendship, which is super important to me. And the fact that I can sit there and laugh with him over anything is priceless. Like it's far exceeds attraction at this point. You know what I mean? Like there's a true, genuine bond there. And then the third quality was just the fact that he was so empowering when it came to me. He was always uplifting me. Anytime that I felt insecure about doing something, or I felt insecure about how I looked, or just anything that I felt insecure about, he was always up there uplifting me. That's right. Always empowering me, always encouraging me. Like, yeah, why can't you do that? You can absolutely do that,
Wow.
Real talk, yo, that's making me.
I'm like, yo, that's what I look for in a woman.
Yeah.
Woman that's like, hey, Caleb, keep going, Caleb.
Right. So those three qualities have definitely made us kind of like keep going in a sense, because every relationship is hard, especially if you've been in a relationship for 8 years.
Right.
Especially when you throw a child into the mix. You know what I mean? The relationship can be hard. Marriage is hard. But the fact that like those traits and that foundation was set, you know what I mean? Like we riding this till the wheels fall off.
Wow. I love that, because like nowadays marriage is not valued as it was intended to be valued.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, I don't feel like being in a marriage anymore. All right, where's the divorce papers? Yeah.
People treat it as a business transaction, and I get it to a certain extent. It is a business transaction, when you get all the legalities in it. But like at the end of the day, what happened to just the values of it? What happened to the importance of standing in front of an altar and committing to a person for life? You have vows, before God, and you're saying this is the person that I'm choosing to spend my life with in sickness or in health, for better or for worse. Because when I tell you the worst will come, the worst will come. And if you're just going to like throw it away, then maybe it was a business transaction after all. And I feel like people forgot about just how sacred marriage is.
Wow.
Damn.
Amen.
Damn.
Oh, podcast is over. Thank you guys.
I like how you talked about the friendship
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes I forget about that because I know some people are saying, you don't want to be in the friend zone too. When it comes to like girls, make your intentions known, but at the same time, it's still good to, develop that friendship, make sure there is some sort of compatibility, like you can laugh together and stuff like that too. So.
And definitely the respect factor, you know what I mean? One of the other things that really like made me attracted to him is he wasn't approaching me in the same manner that other guys were approaching me.
Like he wasn't like hollering at you
Like he
Mom?
expressed his interest,
Okay.
but it was always on a respectful level, and he always held a conversation with me. Like,
wow, that's good.
it was never about like, so when are we gonna like go out? When are we gonna link up? And it wasn't about 3 a.m. texts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You awake?
right. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I met him, I was I was about to graduate from college, and I was talking about just like a trip that I bought for myself as a graduation gift, like to Spain. I was going on a 14-day trip to Spain, and I remember telling him about it, and I remember him just being genuinely interested in this trip that I'm talking about. He just met me, and he was just like, that's dope, and yeah, oh, what are the places you're gonna see? Like, he was like genuinely invested into the conversation, which was so far-fetched for me during that time. Because during that time, men weren't trying to have conversations with me. Not like that. Not about my goals and my dreams. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I was 24 at the time, too. So it was like, it was a crazy world out here, man. I'm just glad I'm not in that world anymore.
Well, we're still in this world. Damn,
Sorry, man.
That was shade. Oh,
I'm going to pray for y'all.
Appreciate it.
no rush though, but thank you.
No rush, but yeah, y'all got this.
Okay.
Yeah, we got another maybe 10 to 15 years
Whew.
before we settle down, right, Caleb?
Whenever God wants me to.
Okay. I was like, I'm doing the math. I'm like, 15 years.
Nah, this kid is more like 30 years.
Goals
All right,
before
bro.
50.
I think 30 years, 30
Bruh.
years.
All right, now you crazy.
Okay.
Man. You crazy, bro. I definitely want to have offspring, bro.
The offspring.
We're still
All the
offspring.
time.
I just said 80, 90.
So
Guys can.
I mean, so what? You're gonna date someone
Okay,
or be
yeah,
married to someone who's
exactly.
like 20 years your junior?
At that
Whoa.
point, if we're at 70,
if I'm 70, she's 50.
No,
that would be
because
hard.
that's like
because
menopause.
she can't. No, she.
That's menopause era.
Yeah. So unless you,
Anyways, next topic.
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, probably within the next 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's no rush. Make sure you're ready to invest into a marriage. You know what I mean? Make sure you get all of whatever you need to get out of your system before entering a marriage.
Yo, bro, I like this girl,
I'm
bro.
just saying. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm keeping it real because I'm trying to find the words. Like not to say you guys are not mature, okay? So when I say this, I don't want you to take it as like I'm saying you're not mature. But the maturity level when it comes to a relationship and wanting to settle down is delayed compared to a woman. You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
That's
of
why
course,
I
of
say
course.
just get whatever you need to
course.
get out of your system because you
Because like with men, it takes the older they get.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I meant by that. Yeah, but
No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, because we know our brains are wired differently.
Yeah.
And guys, the older, like,
there's different interests,
different interests at different ages.
different priorities,
Right.
different timelines, especially different timelines, you
Right.
know. A lot of men are focused on like accomplishing certain goals, you
Right.
know what I mean? Because, being in a relationship, it does make that harder, then you're sharing your time. So any goals that you're trying to accomplish, it does make it harder once you're in a relationship, unless that person is 100% on the same like wavelength as you and like, yeah, we're going after this goal together. But
So that reminds me of a question that
Oh,
he
just
likes.
about-
Yeah, that he
Go
likes
ahead,
to,
go ahead, ask it.
And do you think a man should be financially stable before he gets into a relationship, or him do like the we're gonna build together thing?
Well, he's like super broke.
Super broke, like barely can afford a date.
Well, what do you perspective on this?
So I have the perspective of if it's not a marriage and it's just a relationship, that broke stage it's okay to be in a relationship if you can find a woman who's accepting of that, because some women are not accepting of that.
Makes fair.
So me personally, I was accepting of that. You know, we were
with your current husband.
Yes, I was accepting of that. We were both trying to build. I wasn't exactly rich myself. You know what I mean? Like, we were both trying to build together. When it comes to a marriage, though, I think it's very important that you're both financially stable, or if it's traditional, like where the man is doing all of the work and the woman stays at home. Before entering a marriage, you definitely want to make sure you're financially stable, just with everything that comes with the marriage. You know, sharing taxes, sharing a credit score when you guys are trying to buy a home, bringing children into the world, because children are extremely expensive, especially in today's world. So yeah, relationship, I don't think the finance is such an important factor, but marriage, absolutely. Don't even think about a marriage until you're financially stable, because it's just expensive overall, starting from the wedding planning all the way to having children.
Okay, so you can start broke, but by the time you're trying to put a ring on it, you gotta have some.
But with him, when you guys were down together, you saw the ambition in him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be some kind of ambition.
That's what it is.
Yeah, as if I see you making a solid effort, then that's enough for me. You know, if I don't see an effort, then I'm like, this is
like
not gonna work.
Just watching TV. You're watching TV, eating pizza.
Yeah, no, like if you don't get your ass up and find a job,
because it's like two different things. Like he could be broke, but you see the vision.
Yeah,
you see him working, and there's the other guy. He just does not care about anything.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's different between a man who has ambition to be up, and then life just happens and gets him down, as opposed to a guy who's just completely content with his situation. Like you can spot the difference very easily. So yeah, I would say the latter is not for me personally, but to each his own.
Fair.
So there's hope for some of y'all out there, struggling right now.
But we still encourage you to get your stuff together, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
I want to go back on the blog. This is so how long have you been doing the blog?
4 years. Wow, it's been 4 years. So yeah, I reached my 4-year anniversary in April of this year.
Nice.
Also, I want to tell you congrats, because you won Tampa Best.
Yeah, Best of the Bay. Creative Loafing Best of the Bay. 2nd year in a row.
Bruh.
2nd year in a row.
Second year in a row.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I feel so weird talking about it, because I'm always so humbled. Just the fact that I won, like I never anticipated it. So
you're on a podcast called Winning in Life.
So
you're winning.
So
and we encourage you to keep winning.
Thank you.
Bro.
But humble, grateful. It's never really expected. So every time it happens, I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Right.
And honestly, just super grateful to anybody who supports me, because without my supporters, there is no blog, there is no Angie Soul, there's no Best of the Bay award, So that award is y'all's, actually. It's not mine.
That's awesome, though.
Real talk. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So, when it comes and this year was more sentimental to me, because I haven't been able to invest so much into blogging, like on my site. With my child, who's about to be 2 at the end of this month. Life gets very busy, especially because of my husband and who he is, and all the events. And, a lot of times while he's at the events, I have to hold my child down. And, it just puts a lot of workload on me, plus the fact that of my career of an HR manager, which is just super demanding within itself. So I haven't been able to write as many blog posts as I did, let's say, a year or two ago. What I ended up doing is just kind of shifting my focus to social media and building my blog through social media. So a lot of the stuff that I would talk about on my blog, I just do it in reels, you know what I mean? And
that makes sense.
so it was dope that I was able to win this year, because I have to tell you, from a period of time in this year, I didn't feel like I was deserving because I wasn't putting out what I used to put out. So
Okay.
So you put out less, but you still won the award of like best in the Bay.
yeah.
That means you must be really good.
So you think, because I've heard like less is more, like if you take breaks and things like that, do you think that might have had like an effect?
Not necessarily taking the breaks. It's probably just the way that people digest information now in this day and age of like technology. Not everybody wants to necessarily read a long blog post.
Facts.
A lot of people, you know, want things that is
Short
audio
content
or short form content. And that short form content really benefited me this year, because I wasn't putting these blog posts that was just time consuming overall for me to create. And also took some time and attention from people who are reading it. You know, I was able to grab that same concept and just put it in a shorter form where people are able to digest it through social media in like a 13-second clip, you know?
Instead of, well, I don't know how long people read, but.
Yeah, I mean, my blog posts, depending on the topic, can go up to 16 minutes of reading. You know what I mean? So,
Okay. Wow, yes.
So, just kind of, you know, and then just putting the length of the writing into the caption, you know?
Right.
Which also, if we're speaking on a marketing technique or standpoint, the longer the caption, the longer the watch time of your reel, the more it gets pushed out into the algorithm.
Wait, hold on.
You just put on some game.
Yeah, real talk, bro, because we could always use some marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, what works for me and my reels is keeping it under 15 seconds. You want to pay attention to certain keywords or catchphrases within the video and the caption. Trending audio, anything that appears as trending but has less than 10,000 reels attached to it. So if it's under that number, that's a good trending audio. The lower the number, the better. You just want to make sure you're looking for that arrow that's pointing up.
And lengthy captions.
And lengthy captions, yeah, because if you think about it, they click on it. So you got their attention through.
Now they have to read the cap,
you know,
and
yeah.
Listening to the. Oh, okay.
You got the attention of through the quick clip or whatever. It's only 13 seconds, so as they're reading your caption and it's lengthy, that reel is just restarting itself as they're reading it.
And that like restarting, that's good for like the algorithm and stuff.
Because it translates as more plays.
And when there's more plays, they pushed it out more.
That's crazy.
That's where like some reels that have like millions of views, if they keep pushing it out, it gets more views.
Yeah, there's some content creators that will put something into the video, and they kind of just do it as like a flash. So it's like you're trying to look in the video to see like
I caught that before,
and you're trying to pause it and trying to like play it to see what they're saying. They did that very intentionally.
Wow.
Is to push it into the algorithm. Yeah. Now, this is not 100% foolproof, because I mean, if it was, I would be viral at this point. But it does work for a lot of like my reels. Like there's some reels that I have that are like, you know, over 30K views, and you know, just by following that.
That's awesome.
Also, when it comes to a reel, you just want to make sure you're giving something of value. How are you going to value a person?
Right. By
offering this clip or by them seeing it, because in this generation, people want to know what you can do for them, you know? So
you just said something, a keyword that I love. You said value. So with the blogging, is this your key purpose now? Is this what your purpose is?
Yeah, for sure. Blogging, I get very passionate when I'm talking about my blog, because like there was once upon a time that I was in a very dark place, and I wish I was able to kind of read the content that I was putting out, because I felt like I was alone or isolated in my feelings. So to be able to like put something that's genuinely healing for me, but it's also healing for another person because they feel like they could connect to me or connect to someone who is experiencing the same type of things that they're experiencing, and positively impact their life in some way, shape, and form. I feel like that's just probably the most winning factor of this all. You know what I mean? Like it's really just why I keep doing it and why I shifted that passion into a certain purpose, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Thanks.
So, you found your purpose through blogging, right?
I was just gonna ask her about the HR thing. So
Yeah.
That's like hiring people, right?
So no, it's so funny because every time I tell someone I'm an HR manager, they're like, it's like you know what an HR manager does, but it's like you don't really know what an HR manager does. So HR managers, they can hire people. That's one of the things, you know, or they cannot hire people. I think the main focus on HR managers is like just the administration of like payroll and benefits, and also being an advocate and finding a balance between being an advocate for the company and being an advocate for the employee. Okay. So it's really just on a like, it's really protecting people in a sense, you know what I mean? Like if you think about it, whenever there's a conflict in a job, they're bringing in HR.
Right, yeah. They're like, I want this person fired.
You know?
Yeah.
And let's say the manager is like, I want this person fired. It's the HR manager's job to be like, to evaluate the situation, to make sure that's legally compliant. Like, let's say if it's a performance issue, okay, did you give them a performance improvement plan? Were they aware that their performance was lacking? Did you actually communicate this to them? Did you document this? If you didn't do that, why are you firing them? And this can possibly be determined as a wrongful termination claim. And somebody can actually possibly claim discrimination because there's certain protected classes in employment law. So, yeah, the I would say the main goal of an HR manager is just finding the balance. I should have known
this. I should have talked to you a long time ago.
Yes, it's really just finding that balance of protecting not only the company but protecting the employee, because there are employees who take advantage of companies and there's companies who definitely take advantage of employees. So that's, from my perspective, the HR role. I won't say that all HR managers carry on in this manner, but that's how I carry on in the company that I work for.
So do you specifically hire people?
Me personally, no, I don't. So, but the company that I work for is an interesting company because I work for an overseas company, and we help other overseas companies establish a U.S. presence. So basically, we can help them either create a U.S. entity, or we can hire their employees, but the employees work for the overseas company operationally.
Okay.
And then we manage all of the HR duties of that, because if you think about it, overseas companies are not going to be knowledgeable of like U.S. employment law. So they need assistance of managing the employees and doing in a compliant way, as well as on a state level, because all of our employees are in different states.
I feel like that's like a really valuable job that people need, like especially you're doing overseas stuff.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like a middle woman.
Yeah.
In a sense.
In a sense, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Whenever an employee needs something, like they need help with their benefits or they need help with just any kind of particular issue in the company, they're coming to me, just like a client is coming to me for guidance on U.S. employment law, which can be very intimidating, by the way, because I am not paid a lawyer's salary. So to be providing guidance on a U.S. employment law level is, yeah.
Because, they're in whatever it's called, where it says, I guess, everything that they have to do, or it's like, pages and pages and pages.
Yeah, not only that, like anything that, let's say the client terminates an employee without consulting with us, ultimately our company is the one at risk because these are technically our employees. Right. So that's what, yeah.
Dang. Okay.
That's crazy.
Which is why I say it's a demanding job, because I'm constantly in and out of calls, emails, not to mention all of the other stuff that I have to do along with the position, especially around quarter 4, because quarter 4 is always the busiest time of the year.
Where is that?
Quarter 4 is like just the end of the year. So if you think about it, like if you have health benefits, open enrollment is once per year, typically in November. Right. So we got to prep for that. A lot of businesses like to restructure their company at the end of the year to prep for the new year, and that comes with layoffs, and that comes with changing policies, and that comes with a whole slew of things that I rather not dive into. So, definitely a busy time of the year for me.
Well, thank you for your service.
You are greatly appreciated.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I want to touch on God. So how does God play a big role in your life?
I want to know the story between the crystals and
the transformation to
for
the Lord
sure.
our Savior.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the crystals. Because it's funny. My best friend was like, she randomly asked me this question, and she was like, I noticed that you never did take out the blog posts that you have that talks about like crystals and sage and spirituality. And she was like, what would you say to a person who's like reading that and they see you now and they're like, aren't you supposed to be a Christian? Why do you have this? And I'm like, well, it's just honestly, I want to be transparent in my evolution and how I grew from that. In 2018, I was, that was after the miscarriage. I was trying to find my way. I started doing crystals. Crystals was like a fad back then. Well, kind of still is now.
People are still.
2018, I had just suffered from the miscarriage. I was trying to find myself spiritually, looking for something and a higher power to hold on to while I was going through that grieving process. And of course, at the time, and still now, the trend was like crystals, you know what I mean? And manifesting and sage to get rid of the negative energy, and, the sound bowls and meditating on that. Like I dived very heavily into that between 2018 and...
Wait, you said bowls?
The singing, the sound bowls.
Oh.
No, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
It's, if you look it up on YouTube, it's like these bowls, and they're like doing this with the little stick. I don't know what it's called, but it makes like these sounds, and it's supposed to create these certain energy frequencies and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was diving really into that between 2018 and 2020, but I noticed also that between 2018 and 2020, I was also heavily struggling with anxiety. I was heavily struggling with depression. I was heavily struggling with insomnia. And which is crazy because like all of these things are supposed to be helpful for that. But I just, that was not my experience.
So you're saying that those things might have caused that?
Possibly. So when there are certain, I don't want to get too biblical with this.
No, you can't, because my friend said something about, I think what you're about to say. So.
Crystals manifesting and putting all of your faith into a rock is essentially an idol. It's an idol that you're like almost kind of making sacrifices. So if you're thinking like on a biblical level of how you make certain offerings and sacrifices to some God, you know what I mean? And in hopes of trying to get a certain blessing back, That's not Christian-like. That's not God-like. So, and then a lot of these things can serve as portals. I don't think people realize that like spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare is like a real thing. It's like also if you think about it, a lot of like the manifesting and the crystals and stuff like that, it's essentially like witchcraft.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I don't want to get canceled. But
no, you can say it. You can
say it. With witchcraft, because I know there are witches out there who feel that just all of the powers of the universe and God kind of go hand in hand. But I don't agree. You know what I mean? I feel like anything that is outside of God and Jesus is not Christian. It's not, it serves more so of another power and not necessarily of God.
And I'm glad that you said Jesus too, because a lot of people say God.
And it's like, which God?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
yeah.
They say Satan is the God of this world, so Jesus is the clear distinction that's Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, and it's being a blogger and being in interaction with so many different types of people, you know what I mean? I have my belief systems, and I'm very careful on imposing my beliefs onto others, you know what I mean? Because some people are not necessarily ready or willing to receive what I have to say when it comes to that. But yeah, I'm very much my standpoint when I was doing the crystals and the manifesting, it didn't serve me well. Like, it became almost like a stronghold where I was not able to get out of certain dark places. It's like the more I tried, the more I became depressed, the more I dealt with anxiety, the more I dealt with insomnia. And I'm not talking about just like one night. Like, there was one time that I didn't sleep for 36 hours. You know what I mean? Like, my insomnia was pretty intense. My anxiety attacks were pretty intense, And I'm not an all-knowing person, so I can't say 100% like, yep, it was the crystals. But just based on what I have read in the Bible, based on what I've been learning as I've been building my relationship with God, all signs point to that. So that was between 2018 and 2020. Around 2021, I got pregnant. Wasn't necessarily dealing with the crystals because honestly, I was tired and lazy, so, but I wasn't necessarily having a relationship with God. Like, I've always believed in God, but I never really had a relationship with him. And the same thing in 2022. So it wasn't until this year, which honestly, this year has been the toughest year in my life on many different personal and professional levels. And at the time, my best friend, she was, getting more into Christianity and going to church. And she never imposed it on me. She would just send me certain scriptures and stuff like that. But she was also very respectful of, like, her journey was her journey and my journey will eventually be my journey. So it wasn't until I went to, there was one night, I went to City Life Church. It's on Del Mabry.
We've heard a lot of our friends.
I went to City Life Church. And when I was going to church, because there was a brief period of time in 2020, I was going to church, just, again, trying to find some kind of peace and solace for the insomnia and the depression and the anxiety. There was a brief period of time that I was going there, and I've always enjoyed City Life. Like, I've always enjoyed their worship service and everything. I remember, like, I was having a really rough day. Like, somehow one of my tires went flat, the windshield wipers broke too. Like, I had to, like, it was just one of those days where it was just a really rough day. And I remember she invited me to the worship service. And this was, like, outside of everything else that was happening on a personal level to me, just like within my marriage and my job, financially, you know what I mean? It was just a lot going on this year. And I went to the worship service. And the thing about me, anytime I step inside of a church, even before I had a relationship with God, I'm always crying. Like, every time I step inside of a church. And the worship service was going on. And I remember just feeling like I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. Like, I'm just feeling frustrated. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to come out of these situations. I don't know how to make it better. And in that time, like, and this is me just all thinking it as I'm listening to the worship service. And then at that time, my best friend all randomly started praying over me. And she was praying over me, and she was saying certain very specific things that I didn't necessarily open up to her about, but she was kind of praying me. It was almost like God was speaking through her, and he was, like, kind of providing me with reassurance. And then ever since then, I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna build up my relationship. So I got like my first Bible. I started going to Bible study. I started going to church. I started like the whole Bible app. It kind of keeps me accountable with the whole prayer thing. And that's how that transformation has happened. So like this year is the first year that I've truly invested into a relationship with God in my 33 years of life.
So when did that happen where your friend was praying over you? That was this year?
That was this year. Oh. Yeah.
Wow. 33 years.
Mm-hmm. And like owning your first Bible at 33.
Still.
Yeah.
It's better late than never. That's.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I'm like,
I'm thinking.
I know. I gotta go home. I gotta pray some more.
But yeah, like I don't ever want anybody to hear that and be like, oh my gosh, she's pushing these values. You know what I mean? Like the point is to spread the gospel, but I like to spread the gospel in a way that's not like, this is the right way to do it.
You know, it's not just about that. It's about living a life too, like Christ-like.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, a lot of times. My mom, every single time I get off the phone with her, don't forget to shine, be a light to the world, be a light. Oh, okay. She doesn't miss a beat. Don't forget, you're a light to the world.
So
I remember when I went to Orlando. I went to Orlando with him and another boy. And my mom was like, "Remember, you're going to Orlando, but you're gonna be a light." All right, mom.
Be a light. I like that. Yeah, like honestly. What Christianity has taught me is not necessarily that life will always go in your favor, but you will be provided with the tools. You're equipped with the tools to handle adversity.
Adversity, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
So, and that has really shifted like my mindset. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't really suffer from anxiety, and I sleep pretty well now. Like
that's amazing.
That's so crazy.
That's amazing.
Bro, like I always like to see like people change and things like that, but now it just hits different, man, when you know people are changed by God, and it's not like no matter what the age, you know, you're 33, you're 20, you're like my boy Austin, like I've known him for years, you know, we were chilling, you know, doing our thing, and then he was radically transformed by God. And I was like, good for you, bro. Like, and then, you know, there's a time this year where like I really needed God and he was there for me. And I was like, bruh, like this thing, everything with the Bible, you know, you grew up in church, like me and him, we grew up in church, but when you really need God and he's there for you, like it transforms you, man. Like it's insane.
And it's like the reason why I'm so like adamant about not pushing my beliefs on others is because until you have a personal encounter, until you actually want to do it yourself, it's not going to make an impact on your life. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and I'm very respectful that everybody has their own timelines and journeys, you know? So my journey may not necessarily connect with your journey, and that's okay. I'm happy to share whatever my experiences are. You can take whatever you want from it. But as for me and my household,
we will share. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yo.
You know, I just realized this all comes together with your purpose of the blog, which you're doing a phenomenal job, by the way.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. So like, you know, I always tell him that we're all on. Well, first of all, we're on God's borrowed time. It's not our time; it's His time.
Yeah.
And second of all, we're made with a purpose for a purpose. And you know, there's a lot of walking zombies out here that don't know their purpose. You know. So
there's a lot of spiritually dead people. Yeah.
So for those people, how would you, for someone especially young, the younger generation that's trying to find their purpose and they don't know what they want to do in life, what would you recommend? What are the steps and processes?
That's a great question. I mean, finding your purpose, how do you even go about that? Because I feel like it's God-given to a certain extent. So I think the way that you discover your purpose is just tapping into something that you love, because as long as you love what you're doing, you can never go wrong with that. But also finding the balance of how it can positively impact another person's life. So whatever that may look for you. some people have art and they like to pour themselves into the art, and the art makes emotions get stirred in other people, and that may help them. Or music, you know, how many times do we go to music when we're feeling a certain emotion to cope with that? So I think a good way to just find your purpose is just focusing on something that you absolutely love, that ties into a skill set, that ties into positively impacting another person's life.
Basically providing value to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be your career.
It doesn't necessarily have to be your career, because honestly, at the end of the day, when it comes to purpose, are you doing it for the clout, or are you doing it because it's really your passion?
Wow.
So I think a lot of people get caught up on that as well, including myself. So it's not me, like, you know,
Yeah.
putting any shade towards anyone. It's very easy to be focused on numbers. It's very easy to be focused on popularity, but I'm always constantly reminding myself purpose over popularity.
Purpose over popularity. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Do you feel conviction or something?
Well, I was like, that could be the name of this episode. But we talked about way too much stuff.
Yeah.
No,
I
I think purpose over.
because we just you going in about your story with the God stuff. I was like, yeah, we'll figure out the title.
I know. There's a lot of different topics that were touched on.
So let's say there's a struggling young woman out there. Maybe she's 18 and she doesn't know what to do with her life. She's lost. What is your advice that you would give her?
Well, first I would say you're 18. You're not supposed to have it all figured out right now. I think people put too many timelines on when certain goals should be achieved. Granted, you don't want to have a lack of ambition, but you don't want to exactly stress yourself out over timelines. At 18 years old, I had no idea where I was supposed to be in life. I think I was just even telling you separate from this. I went from wanting to go into like a medical field, to going into a pharmacy field, to going into sonograms, to going into psychology. You know what I mean? Like, this is the time that you really want to just try it all and see where you fit best in this world. And then once you feel that spark, that spark that truly makes you feel valued in this life, you just cling on to that and then you work towards that. Don't pay attention to the timelines, more so pay attention to the effort and the work that you put in. Because as long as you keep working, you keep putting, like, exerting that effort, at some point you're going to reach the destination. You know what I mean? So just more so focusing on the journey rather than the outcome or the destination. And have some grace for yourself. You're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail a lot. You're going to reinvent. You're going to reevaluate. You're going to be on top. Then you'll fall again. And then you'll have to climb back up to the top. It's just the natural order of being a human and experiencing different seasons in your life.
That was fun.
Could have said it better. That's it.
Real talk, man. That was amazing, man. Like, yo,
You know, you are the first married woman
facts.
and first mother that we've had on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah,
Yay!
And you dropped some great wisdom.
Nice.
I want to say she's the first married person, like, who's currently, because Dom was on, but he wasn't married.
He wasn't,
first.
yeah, but she's the first married person currently ever.
Yeah.
And the first mother.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, I forgot. I was gonna ask about that, but I was just gonna ask, like, what is it like being a mom?
Oh, man.
And what are the steps? Not the steps, like,
Well,
you know.
What are the steps
No,
to
well, like, you know, like someone, you know, like what are some what are the preparations, like someone that's, you know, wants to be a mother one day,
Yeah.
a parent.
Oh,
you know.
man. So everything that you think you know about parenthood, throw it out. Okay? Because parenthood has this unwavering habit of breaking every belief system that you've ever had. Every child is different. every child learns differently, every child behaves differently. Like, one size does not fit all. And for myself, I don't have a close relationship with my mother. So when I found out I was having a daughter, I was terrified. I was like, how am I supposed to be a mother to this little girl? And I don't really have an example of what a mother should be. And then when she was born, it almost comes as instinct. You know what I mean? Like, you go through 9 months of pregnancy, which is such an experience. The way your emotions are changed and molded by it, the way your body morphs by it. Not to mention just delivering the child. You're literally on the brink of that fine line between life and death, because anything can happen in that delivery room. I actually had complications during my delivery, where she got stuck. Her shoulder was like dislodged. You know what I mean? I had high blood pressure. I couldn't even hold her. Like, I was shaking, tearing. You know what I mean? Like, and then you see this person and it just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you see this person in your hands and you're like, I'm going to love you and protect you with every fiber of my being. And there's no hesitation about it. There's no second thought about it. It just comes like that. And then everything else you figure out. You know what I mean? Like, that postpartum process was not particularly enjoyable. Everybody's postpartum process is different. Mine's, I didn't suffer from postpartum depression, but I had baby blues. So it was a lot of emotional turmoil, if I could describe it.
So what's the difference? You're saying that baby blues is just not as intense?
It's just not as intense as postpartum depression. Like, postpartum depression, you actually have some women who want to harm the baby because of postpartum depression. What? And that's not something that is really like they're doing intentionally. You know what I mean? What people don't understand is when you are pregnant, you have certain hormones in your body. And as your body's coming down off of those hormones because you're no longer pregnant, it's a drastic change. And some women can handle it emotionally and some can't. You know what I mean? Not to mention just what your body goes through. I don't think people talk about it enough, but what your body goes through, that healing process, because essentially you pushed out a human being. You know what I mean? Wow. So like, my postpartum process wasn't exactly enjoyable. I got through it though. I want to say, like, especially when it comes to like breastfeeding, I wasn't able to breastfeed, and that felt like a slap in the face, because I feel like, damn, I'm a woman, like, I should be able to provide for my child like that, and I wasn't able to breastfeed. So that came with its own type of feelings, you know what I mean? Which is why I say every expectation that you have, just throw it out, because you really don't know what the circumstances are going to be once you have this child. Also, when I brought my daughter home, for that first night, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? You know what I mean?
Whoa,
like I created this,
and I don't know if I'm going to be able to take care of this. Like, I didn't have the faith and confidence in myself to provide for her. Like, that first night was so hard when this baby is crying hysterically. You're trying to breastfeed. She's hungry. You can't comfort her, and you just feel like a failure. And you're like, you almost question, you're like, damn, am I really cut out for this? Like, can I really be a mother? Like, what did I just get myself into? I didn't even feel, it took like a good month for me to truly feel like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay, because I'm going to figure it out for her. For that whole month, I was just like, essentially, you're trying to get to know each other. Just because you were pregnant for 9 months doesn't mean you're going to know the demeanor of your child. Doesn't mean that she's going to be completely knowledgeable of you. You know what I mean? There's just a certain comfort and bond that has to be built during that postpartum process. But then after that, it's more so like, this is my person, I'm getting to know her, she's getting to know me, and essentially we ended up becoming each other's safe space. So, and I know it's really hard, because like, a lot of women feel like that mom guilt, And they're like, oh, I'm not being a good enough mother. And how come it comes so easily to other women and it's not coming so easily to me? And that's what I mean about the like level of expectations. Like, you just really don't know how you're going to go. You're going to have a certain expectation for the process, and it's not going to always live up to your expectations. So that would definitely be my first thing when it comes to parenthood, just giving yourself grace for that. And also knowing that if you're questioning if you're being a good mother, chances are you are being a good mother if you have to question it, because that just means that you're genuinely showing concern for your child and how you're raising her, or him, I should say. And then also, if I could say anything else, do not pay attention to unsolicited advice. Everybody has an opinion about how you should raise your child. Everybody has an opinion of how you should raise your child. But you as a mother, or you as just a parent, because I don't think this exclude fathers either, you as a parent will know how to raise your child for the best presented with your circumstances. So whatever works for your family, as long as that child is happy, healthy, then you're doing what you need to do.
I know I've heard of that before. Like, a lot of people will say that, oh, you should do this and do that, and like, I'm sure they mean well, but
they mean well, you gotta,
but cause
like for breastfeeding, it's like, oh, you really should be breastfeeding. Yeah, I know, I'm trying. It's not happening. She's not latching on. My milk supply is low. So you want me to starve her until I'm able to effectively breastfeed her? Honestly, fed is best, not breast is best. Okay, like
fed is best.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about nothing about babies like that, or but still, that's good. Like, because I think everybody, moms, fathers included, do have an expectation. They want to be the perfect dad or the perfect mom, but
there's no such thing.
Yeah,
there's really no such thing, and
you can't ever be 100% prepared for any
Like, I know people are like, oh my God, I don't want to damage my child. And like, that's always been like a big concern of mine. I don't ever want my childhood trauma to like drip into my relationship with my child and damage her. But honestly, you can't get around the risk of potentially damaging your child, because you're still healing in some way, shape, or form. So it's like, I think it's just a matter of having a certain level of awareness and accountability. Like, I come from a generation where children were heard, not like were seen, not heard. You know what I mean? And whatever they said, whatever the parent said goes. I don't necessarily have that perspective. Like, if I mess up as a parent, I'm going to say sorry to my child.
That's real.
I'm going to explain to her that, mommy did this because mommy was feeling this, and it doesn't mean that it was right.
I respect that.
But just know that it doesn't take away the love that I have for you. You know what I mean? And I don't ever want you to feel like you can't be heard or you can't call me out when mommy messes up, because mommy's not perfect, So I think as long as you have a certain awareness and accountability, you are doing already the best for your child.
Oh, accountability.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, accountability is a big part. You know how many parents out here how many of our parents are out here walking around with no accountability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Millions.
I'm like, bruh.
Lots.
That's huge. We were just talking with our other guest about leadership and how he said accountability, and I was like, yo, what? Like, they don't talk about that, like leadership and being accountable. And essentially, you are a leader as a parent.
Yeah, any kind of leadership role is going to require accountability, because for you to, if you are a person who feels like they've already know it all, then I don't want to be around you.
Facts.
Okay, like, I want to be around someone who's always hungry to learn more, who knows that they don't know it all, and that's where the power lies. So yeah, you gotta have accountability. We are going to make mistakes, every single one of us, no matter your stature, no matter your role. Like, you're gonna make mistakes along the way.
I learned a lot today, man. I learned a lot today.
These 2 episodes were like my church service.
That's funny.
Oh
No.
man.
I needed this. Everything you said today was incredibly.
Thank
Great.
you.
Real talk. Like,
You should write a book.
I'm working on it.
Oh, you are?
I am. I'm trying to.
I'll pray on it. I keep praying on it.
I'm trying to.
They
I don't.
fulfill
you
and
know,
become New York's top seller.
I don't know when, but eventually
It
it'll
will happen.
Yeah.
By God's grace and
Yes,
timing. It will happen.
Exactly.
you know, every now and then we have, you know, I like to say, you like a breakout, episode of Winning in Life where it's like yo, like it was phenomenal, man. I think this was like a phenomenal episode. You're phenomenal.
Thank
For
you.
real.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Well,
it.
I mean, this sermon was amazing. So
The sermon.
I got nothing else. I'm just taking it all in. But you know, we haven't done this in a while. Tampa Bay talent.
Oh yeah.
So
yo,
every episode, well, not every episode, but back then we used to want to shout out the people in Tampa Bay that are doing something. You know, whether it be artists, musicians, and you're a blogger. You know, and you out here helping people heal, which is a good work that is needed in this world. So you are a Tampa Bay talent, and we just want to shout you out. So
Nice.
plug in your information. Where can they find you at?
Absolutely. So you can find me. My website is www.angie-soul.com. I can also be found on Instagram and TikTok at Ange Meets Soul. And any inquiries or collab opportunities, feel free to email me at angemeetsoul@gmail.com. Sorry, too many names, but yeah, check me out.
And guys, thank you. This was a phenomenal episode with Ange
Thank you.
on a Winning in Life. See you guys on the next phenomenal episode.
Bye.